What's up, everybody? My name is Jared Tiefenthaler. This is my father, Dennis Tiefenthaler.
Hello, hello. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Our company is Seam Readers, and we are a baseball visual training company. So with that being said, give a little introduction to my father. He'll tell you some background info and why he matters and what he did in the baseball world.
Why he matters. Anyway, my name's Dennis Tiefenthaler. Grew up in South Dakota back in the 60s and 70s. And had to an athletic family, and when I got done with high school, I got drafted out of high school by the Toronto Blue Jays, 19th round in 1980. Decided not to go there. Took a full ride scholarship offer to come to Yavapai College in Prescott, Arizona. Played 2 years there.
Go Rough Riders.
Go Rough Riders. Got drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in the second round, 49th in the player in the nation picked. Went on and played a couple of years of professional baseball, had a great time, met a lot of wonderful people, and when I was done there, I got in the car business for a while, but have been coaching and playing softball, fast pitch softball, for years and years and years, and have done thousands of hitting lessons, and that's kind of what we're here for.
And
today.
coached a national championship
Yep.
softball team.
Yep.
With my sister, his daughter on it. So our company is Seam Readers. You want to tell everybody that some might know it as a different name, but what is seam reading?
Seam reading, as far as I'm concerned, is the ability to read a pitch based on how it looks.
Sure.
Okay, right out of the pitcher's hand. Right out of the pitcher's hand, the ball is going to rotate to what pitch it is. These seams are going to tell you what it is. Okay, and it's either going to be a four-seam fastball, two-seam fastball, curveball, slider. I never saw some of the pitches that they have today, like the cutter or the
sinker.
The sinker,
Mm-hmm.
but those other ones, I knew what they were as soon as the pitcher let go of the ball.
And the reason that is, and with the studies we've done and just the knowledge we've gained throughout the years, is each pitch really does have a signature look to it.
Yep.
And with practice and repetition, you can pick that up, as soon as possible right out of the hand. A big problem we've kind of ran into in this process and figured out is that a lot of people don't know that this skill exists, or it's undertrained. And for me, my whole life growing up, I thought it was common knowledge. I thought everyone knew how to read the seams. I thought it was taught worldwide, and it wasn't until we really got into this thing that I found out that that's not the case. And seam reading, is a term that I give credit to my father for coming up with. But so I guess my next question is why do you think it's not as prevalent and out there, a little undertrained and not really known?
Well, I don't know I don't know really if everyone can do it.
Sure.
Does it take a certain eyesight? 2015, 2010, 25. What does it take?
Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
With studies I've seen, I think everyone can do it. It's just how far out of the pitcher's hand, baseball or softball, do you start to see it? So great eyes can see it one foot out of the hand, where me, wearing glasses, I have 20/20 vision. I saw it 10 feet out of the hand, where my dad, having 20/10, probably saw it 4 or 5 feet out of the hand. So I think
that's just like when we would go down the highway when you were kids, and I'd always say, "What does that sign say?"
What does that sign say? Yeah.
And I'd always beat you guys. Mm-hmm. So that vision, obviously.
Seam reading on the side of the road.
Yeah, obviously the better vision helps. But Jared, I can remember from when we were kids, we'd play catch, and I'd say, "Listen, you need to start reading what these balls are." Just by playing catch, I'd say, "What was that?" And he'd know what a four-seamer was, a two-seamer. You put a little spin on it. Obviously, it's going to be a curveball or something like that. So it's not that difficult to do. Just recently, we've talked to Pete Rose, maybe the greatest seam reader of all time. He never guessed once.
So it's interesting when talking to Pete Rose, and this might be an answer to why not everyone specifically trains this skill, but Pete Rose told us he'd go up to the plate not trying to seam read. He just did it naturally. Where we're trying to take this key part of hitting and have it its own entity, you could say, and trained separately, where he just did it. He knew what every pitch looked like. He didn't even go up there thinking. His brain just saw it. And that's where we hope kids get to, is that it becomes so natural and innate to them that they're just doing it without even thinking.
And that's our goal, really, is to get the kids, okay,
of course,
to start recognizing these seams
Because the younger you start, exactly. The younger you start, the better off you'll be. Yep. Especially when guys start throwing 95, it has to be just secondary. You know?
Right. But the balls, it's like I can remember sitting in front of a group of guys and saying, hey, how many in here learned how to read seams? And not many of them did.
A group of pros.
Yeah, a group of pros. And I sat there and I went, here, give me a ball. I said, does that look the same as that? Does that look the same as that? And it's real simple. Yep. They don't look the same, okay?
Yeah.
And when you know that, you can become a better hitter. You just become a tougher out.
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't mean just because you know what's coming 5 feet out of the hand, that doesn't mean you're going to succeed as a hitter.
And that kind of answers
it gives you an advantage, I think.
Yep. And that kind of goes into my next question, which is why is it important? And I mean, if you know baseball and softball, it's pretty easy. Why is that important? Because curveballs curve, sliders slide, different fastballs move different ways. You want to know what they look like as soon as possible so you can recognize movement after. We have a good little saying that we say that's rotation before location. And that's part of our seam readers process, we like to call it, on our website. You can check it out, read all the other steps.
Some of the things that you're going to read with us, are going to be things you haven't heard before. And I think some of the things we're going to say within what we're going to be doing have never been said before, which was kind of interesting when we were going through.
And it is interesting because this is a part of the game that doesn't change. You know, different pitches, they'll have different variations to how they look. But a four-seam fastball is always going to look like a four-seam fastball. Yep. And that's why this is a hard topic to argue on, because pitches don't change much. And once you learn what one looks like, you can learn what all the others look like.
There'll be a slight variation depending on how the ball is let go.
Sure.
Coming down this way versus this way. I mean, pressures on fingers and things like that. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit different in their look. But boy, 9 times out of 10, they're going to look the same. Yep. If he throws a four-seamer and I throw one, and some of you out there throw four-seam fastballs, we're all going to throw them at different miles per hour, but they're all going to look the same.
So, okay, with that being said, next question, I guess.
Do you guys agree with that? Think about that.
Comment below if you agree with that. Comment below if you're already a seam reader, you just maybe didn't have a name for it, and you know what these pitches look like. A good one is the slider. If you see that dot on the slider, that one's talked about a lot, but not being taught a lot to look for that. So I guess next being said, if people aren't seam reading, what are they doing then? And are there adequate alternatives when it comes to hitting? And what are you looking for up there?
Here's what happened to me years and years ago. I get asked these questions. You'd be watching a big game at night, and the guy had a 2-2 count. And it's a big game. He's got a tying run at second base, and he lets strike 3 go right down the middle. Fastball, 95 miles an hour. I get to work the next day. How did that happen, Teef? How does someone let that happen to them?
They sucked.
Well, no. They were just looking for something else, right? They were totally looking for a curveball and at 80 miles an hour or 79 miles an hour, and they didn't get it. And they got the 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It went right by them. They couldn't even move. That's the differences in the two types of hitters.
So he's basically saying that guy was a guess hitter, as we've kind of coined it, and he guessed wrong. So
guess
wrong. But there's a lot of guys that guess, and they take educational guesses at the highest levels, meaning major league.
Well, basically back in the day, I don't know what they do today, but back in my day, each pitch was charted. Let's say if Randy Johnson was pitching, 2 guys in the dugout against him are charting what pitch he's pitching.
And that's still done,
Yeah, I'm sure it's still done. I don't know if they do it now by computer, but it used to be done by the book, and the guys would sit there and go, what was that? And so with years and years of history behind him, you could study what he threw in every given situation. And like a 1-2, 1-ball, 2-strike count, he threw a slider maybe 87% of the time.
Sure.
So tonight you're in that situation. And you're in a 1-2 count, and you're thinking, I've educatedly guessed myself, and I've got Randy, and if he throws me that slider, I'm ready. And he threw a slider about 89, 90 miles an hour, but he didn't. He threw me a 101-mile-an-hour fastball, and I wasn't even able to move. Strike 3, and I'm going to go.
And another problem with that is, little leaguers, high schoolers, even college players, they don't have those analytics. They can educationally guess, but it's a lot harder for them. They don't have those hardcore stats to go by. So
Right.
that's why we advocate seam reading. I believe, and I'm sure my dad does too, that everybody can do it with some practice, and especially if they start doing it at a young age.
Yeah.
We plan on doing videos like this more often, talk about some controversial hitting topics.
Yeah, when we come back at another time, we're going to talk about also how we learned. Okay, I can remember the exact moment I learned that there was a different way than the way I was taught.
So why don't you tell that story? That's
well,
a cool story.
I was playing for the California Angels, and Coach Joe Madden, who's now going to be coach of the Anaheim Angels, he was coaching in the California Angels organization. I had learned how to hit the way I'd learned how to hit. That is reading the seams out of the pitcher's hand. Okay, that night I'm facing an old teammate of mine from the year before in the Oriole organization. He strikes me out on a 1-2 count with a slider. And after the game, he's like in my face, big guy, Big Al was his name, and he got me. He says, "Teef, I got you, man, I got you." I said, yeah, you did, Big Al. He says, "Hey, Dennis, you should have known I was going to throw you a slider in that situation." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean, Big Al? How was I supposed to know that?" And he goes, "Well," he says, "because I always throw a slider in that situation." And that just took me. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so I went to Coach Madden. I said, "Coach, this is what happened. Tell me." And he goes, "No, Dennis, you're doing it the right way. You've been taught the right way. The other way is guessing. The other way
Mind games.
Yeah, is a mind game, like Jared says." And he says, "Yeah, it's viable. Some people can succeed with it, but the odds are in your favor by reading the seams and not guessing what's coming next." So that was the first time it ever happened to me. Call it right in. When was the first time you learned? Because everybody's learned. If you played this game, you get to that point and you go, man, because but then some are never taught. Some don't even know this exists, you guys.
Yeah, that's something we've set out to kind of do. Is find out who knows and who doesn't even know about this. So if you do know, if you don't know, please comment below. Comment anything, and just let us know what you think on this topic. Do you think it can be done by everyone? I guarantee you, if you don't, go out and play catch with your kid or whoever it is, and have them throw you some pitches, and clear as day, you'll see it. So
yeah.
I think that wraps it up for us. Follow us on Instagram at Seam Readers. Follow us on YouTube at Seam Readers, and on Facebook. And we're going to be doing weekly content, hopefully, and letting you guys know what we got some big things coming up. And we'll talk about that later. If you go to the website and stuff, you'll see all the good stuff we got for you. So thank you guys. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you,
that was
sir.
great.
Yes,
Love
sir.
you, man.
Love you too.